Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is February 2nd, and Corbin Burns is heading to Baltimore. Polanco to the Mariners. Trades and signings, let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? We are in February, the month where baseball returns, 3 weeks away from hearing that sweet baseball, that sweet bat, and watching some spring training baseball. 3 weeks is crazy. I'm excited for it, though. I cannot lie. Of course, this week is also, not this week, next week, Super Bowl, Sunday, in a week or so. That's always a fun, good time. For some reason, I'm thinking today is Monday. Today is not Monday. But yeah, we got a lot to do today. A couple of trades happened last night, including the big one here being Baltimore going out and getting Corbin Burns. We'll dive in on that in just a moment. We also have some veteran signings to go over, so we're in for another nice episode here. And I also want to talk about a little bit of the MLB's top 10 right now list by the Shredder. They wrapped that up yesterday, and I have a lot of problems with that I'd like to touch upon as well. But yeah, if you're excited here, and we're going to get diving in right now. Thank you everybody so much for listening and being here. And yeah, let's get started here and talk about Corbin Burns, who is getting moved to Baltimore in exchange for DL Hall and Joey Ortiz, who is Baltimore's 6th-ranked prospect. Let's take a look at what Milwaukee got in return first. We'll start with Joey Ortiz because there's not too much to go over. Like I said, Baltimore's 6th-ranked prospect, kind of a middle infielder there, shortstop, second baseman, a little bit of third. He did play a little bit in the league last year with Baltimore. Played 15 games where he went 7 for 33 for a .212 batting average. No home runs, nothing special in his time up there. But of course, in his AAA last year, he was doing very well. .321 batting average and .885 OPS. 9 home runs, but isn't too powerful that way. He had 112 hits and picked up 58 RBIs for the AAA team there as well. He's obviously a big part of the Brewers, future now, I guess, going forward. Maybe possibly replacing in at second baseman or shortstop if Willie leaves. We'll see if he starts in the year in the majors or not. And then DL Hall is another guy who we've seen a little bit of, another guy who's been in Baltimore's prospect ranks for a while now. He's played a couple seasons with Baltimore in 2022 and 2023, short stints. In total, in his 2 years, he's played 30 games where he's only pitched 33 innings. They've used him more as a bullpen guy, but he has been brought up and raised really as a starter, just not in the major league level yet. In those games, he's 4-1 with a 4.36 ERA and 42 strikeouts to his name. So another one of those, a couple of young kids with a lot of upside heading over to Milwaukee. But who does Baltimore get in return? Corbin Burns, a Cy Young Award winner, 3-time All-Star. And he's been a really strong pitcher over the last couple of years here, going back to 2021, where he was a Cy Young winner, finished first in Cy Young there. Taking a look at last year in 2023, he made all 32 of his starts to a 3.39 ERA, his highest in a long time, really. Pitched 193 innings with 200 strikeouts. But if you go back to 2021, he led the league in ERA with a 2.43 ERA, finished 11-5 that year. And then last year, he actually made 33 starts with a 2.94 ERA. So definitely last year was more of his, not to say worst year when you go off of like ERA and just numbers overall. He's still a great pitcher. He finished 8th in Cy Young voting. And he's going to be leading that Baltimore staff now. You know, you've got guys there now. Obviously, they're young pitchers. Grayson Rodriguez, John Means should be back and healthy again. So he's going to be a part of that rotation now. It would be interesting to see if he's going to, you know, take over and, like, obviously be the ace. I expect him to be the opening day starter. Kyle Bradish, of course, what a season he had last year. He looked to be the opening day starter until this trade. And then Dean Creamer as well. So that, all of a sudden, Baltimore has quite the rotation. They have quite the team, and they've got money to spend. We'll touch upon that again quickly as well. But yeah, Corbin Burnes heads to Baltimore. This is going to strengthen that AL East division that is already so strong when you have teams there like New York, like the Blue Jays, like the Rays, and even the Red Sox. Like, there is not a weak team here. It's just who's going to be the best. And Baltimore had a strong 2023, and they've made some nice additions. But Corbin Burnes here definitely being a nice cherry on top, and hopefully he can lead, you know, that staff with more of a veteran presence, a guy who's won the Cy Young Award. You know, Milwaukee, it's interesting because of how much they're parting away with this offseason, you know, where they're going to go from here. Are they trying to pivot? Are they looking more to a rebuild? You know, this Brewers team that we've seen, you know, 2018, 2019, you know, up until like essentially 2022 last year even, it's no longer the case. You know, that rotation has kind of been reduced to atoms now, you know, with Burnes leaving. Woodruff is still out there on the free agent market, I'm pretty sure. You know, these were the 1 and 2 guys for the Brewers, and now it's Freddie Peralta to lead the staff there. They traded Josh Hader a couple years ago. You know, Devin Williams now is the closing pitcher there. But they got some young kids, like I said, Jackson Chirino in the outfield spot, as well as Sal Frelick. They had guys there like Bryce Terang, Joey Weimer. Now if they're going to get DL Hall, Joey Ortiz, you know, they're really starting to load up on that young talent that they have, you know, in the system now, as well as that little bit of major league talent that they still have. Guys like Christian Yelich, Willie Adames kind of leading that charge there. William Contreras behind the dish as well. So for the Brewers, I do like it. Obviously, it might sting if you are a Brewers fan. You know, Corbin Burnes, outside of Yelich, is probably the face of that franchise. Obviously, no longer. But if you're Baltimore, you love it because your team has so much young talent that you want that veteran presence. You want guys who are good and have done it before. Corbin Burnes is exactly that. Let me double check here. I'm pretty sure his contract is done after the year anyways. Something I didn't actually look into before. And yes, 2024 is his last arbitration year, so he is a free agent after this year. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe he re-signs with Baltimore. Maybe he, you know, tests the water. So Baltimore, you get an ace for the 1 year, possibly longer. We'll see what happens there. But overall, I do like this trade for both sides. All right, now let's stay with the trade talks because we got one more big trade to talk about, and it's between the Seattle Mariners. Who would have thought, the team that always loves to trade, they're doing it this time with the Twins. Seattle is getting Jorge Polanco, second baseman from Minnesota, in exchange for quite the haul. Anthony Desclafani, Justin Tapia, Darren Bowen, and Gabriel Gonzalez. Let's do things in reverse order and talk about the big name here in this trade, and that is Jorge Polanco, second baseman, shortstop, what do you want to call him? He's going to be playing second base for the Mariners. Just a hunch. I feel like maybe he ends up at short, but he's been doing really well at second base recently in the last couple of seasons. And the Mariners are spending a big haul to acquire him. Last year with Minnesota, injuries got to him quite a bit, only ended up playing 80 games. But in those 80 games, he was still pretty decent. A 789 OPS, 255 batting average, 14 home runs, and 48 ribbies. You know, he's been kind of elevating his game ever since his only All-Star selection back in 2019. COVID year was a little bit of a slump for him, but since then in 2021 onward, He's had a very strong, finish, I guess, to his tenure with the Twins because he's played in the league now 10 years, all of which with Minnesota. Like I said, the one All-Star there, and that was also a year where he finished 13th in MVP voting, had quite the year with 22 home runs, 186 hits. He's a switch hitter as well, so, some teams love to get some switch hitters into the mix there, and Jorge Polanco is a good bat there, good veteran presence as well. And honestly, I think he just fits the Seattle clubhouse vibe really well. I bet he's going to look really good in a Mariners uniform. The Twins, who are they getting in return? Anthony DeSclafani. He was a Seattle Mariner for 0 games, just a couple of days in the offseason. Like I mentioned, the Mariners love making trades. This is the 4th major trade they've made this offseason. They traded Robbie Ray for Mitch Haniger and Anthony DeSclafani, and now they have flipped DeSclafani. So he is heading to the Twins. We've talked about him then on a previous episode. Like I said, signed a big deal with the Giants, and it just hadn't worked out. Had a great 2021. Like I said, a 3.17 ERA with 152 strikeouts, made 31 starts. And the following year in 2022, he only made 5 starts and was not good with a 6.63 ERA. And then last year, still dealing with some injuries, ended up only starting 18 games for the Giants with a 4.88 ERA and only 99 innings pitched. So hopefully DeSclafani can get back on track. He had a nice career with the Reds before signing that deal with the Giants, in which he had a great first year and then an injured and a poor, other 2 years. But DeSclafani will find himself into that Twins rotation that's kind of taken a hit, losing Sonny Gray being the big one. But of course, they still have guys there like Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez. DeSclafani, I imagine, being more the 4th starter, possibly even the 5th. But we'll have to see how they want to roll that out. And the other Major League talent that the Twins are acquiring in this trade is Justin Tapa, a relief pitcher in the Mariners organization. Only last year, really. He was with the Brewers in the first 3 years of his career, where he didn't pitch much and struggled when he did. But last year being his first kind of big season, and he fit really well in the Mariners clubhouse, pitched in 75 games to a 2.61 ERA. Very good numbers there when you think about that. 69 innings of work and 61 strikeouts to his name. Justin Tapa did really well in the Mariners bullpen, and the Twins are banking on that to as he comes over and hopes to do well in their bullpen as well. The other 2 guys that I mentioned that they received, Darren Bowen and Gabriel Gonzalez, both prospects. Gabriel Gonzalez actually 79th in the Major League's top 100 prospects, so you're getting a couple of nice names here. Overall, this is probably my favorite trade for the Mariners. Out of all the talent and all the players they received, get Haniger back, cool. Luke Raley for Caballero is all right. The Suarez deal is still a head-scratcher, but Polanco is a great Major League ball player, possibly a top 10 second baseman in the league. And, DeSclafani, like I said, I like his upside, but he struggled in the last couple of years. I don't know if he's going to find it. Tapia, it's a big part of your bullpen, but you have other names there. And if you can part with Sewald, you can definitely part with Tapia. And then minor league talent, you can always trade. No matter how high a prospect is ranked, you never know how they're actually going to turn out when they come to the majors. But if you are the Twins, not to say that, these players are not good as Polanco, but I mean, you're getting DeSclafani with, like I said, that upside there. You get 2 prospects who can really come out and turn into something special for you guys. Like I said, the Twins are a good team. They're in a poor division, so even if they were a little worse off, they're still not, competing heavily their main competition really strives from the Guardians and a couple of upcoming teams in the Tigers and the Royals. The White Sox really aren't going to be competing. So the Twins are in a position where they're able to reshape their team, retool, trade away some major league talent for some prospects, young guys, have them develop quickly before, falling in that division to some of those other teams. I like the move for the Twins. I like the move for the Mariners. I think it's another good trade overall here. Should also mention that Jorge Polanco has a club option that the Mariners can choose to decide for 2025. So if he has a poor year, they can get rid of him after this year. But if they like what he does for the team, they can take the club option, and he would be a Mariner next year as well. That's why they had to give up so much talent to begin with. Speaking of talent, the Tigers, they've decided to sign one of their kids, Colt Keith. He's getting an extension before even touching the major leagues. He's getting a 6-year deal for $28.6 million guaranteed, and that can max out at $82 million over 9 years if 3 club options covering in the years of 2030, 2031, and 2032 seasons, if they're all exercised. That's a pretty big deal for a kid who, is not even 22 and has never played in the major leagues. But this kid could be something special, a third baseman, possibly even a second baseman. Last year, spent some time with both the AAA team and the AA team. But overall, he had 155 hits, 27 home runs, 101 RBIs. Ended up batting average of 306 and an OPS of 932. Very impressive numbers there. When you go look at this kid's baseball reference page, some of the OPSs, last year in 2022, played 48 games at the A+ level, and he had a 914 OPS. He's definitely a lot of upside for this Tigers staff, developing a young kid like this. It's very interesting because, obviously they have other young talent guys there, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green, and they give this kid some money here before he even graces a major league field, has never played a game in the major leagues. I always find those moves interesting. Obviously you like signing young kids, young talent, but usually I prefer it when it's like they've at least had a season, a really strong season. Obviously, there's exceptions. Corbin Carroll got his bag kind of at the beginning of the season. Tatis, after the end of his season, got a pretty big bag and haul. Obviously, this isn't the first one we've had this offseason to begin with, even because, like I said, the Brewers, they extended Jackson Chourio, their center fielder / just outfielder. And he has yet to play a game with the Brewers, so it's always interesting when we see these moves, because obviously they can turn out really well for a team if let's say Colt Keith comes up and he starts playing out of his mind, and it's just a great move overall. He's the next superstar in the league, but he could also be a major bust, and he could just be a mediocre, average ball player who struggles to hit a certain pitch and just doesn't reach his full potential, and then you end up wasting that money for those 6 years. So I always find that it's interesting. Obviously the Tigers are a young, kind of upcoming, fun team. So for that reason, I hope it works out. But you can never be too sure when you have these moves. But Colton Keith gets the bag. Not even a bag. It's $28 million. But still, for someone who's never played a day in the major leagues, it's impressive for the young kid who'll be turning 22 next year, or I guess this year. But we'll probably be in the major leagues then this year as well. Obviously, when you give young players this kind of money, I expect, the Brewers to play Jackson, for the Tigers to play Colt Keith here. So hopefully it works out for him. Played in the 2023 Futures game last year as well. So you never know. All right, now let's move on and talk about some of the signings that have happened this week. Starting off with the Blue Jays. They're signing an old man, Justin Turner, to a 1-year, $13 million deal. Let me tell you, just because this guy is old does not mean he is done. Last year with the Red Sox, he accumulated 2.1 WAR points there. His one and only year with Boston was a pretty good year for the veteran. 23 home runs, a 276 batting average, 800 OPS. Of course, if you know Justin Turner, you know him from his time with the Dodgers. Spent it from 2014 all the way up to 2 years ago in 2022. During that time, was a World Series champion in 2020, two-time All-Star. He was an NLCS MVP as well, and had the most success in his career there. People often forget that before the Dodgers, he was with the Mets, he was with Baltimore. He had a little bit of a career, but it's been that, second half that has really turned it around for him, and became a household name. Before coming over to the Dodgers, his OPS had never been 800, and then his first year with the Dodgers, 897, and going down the list in OPS, 861, 832, 945, 924, 881, 860. He's still doing it, and that All-Star again in 2021. And like I said, even with Baltimore, he's going to be, 39, entering 40. And, it's a strong move here. I think it's an underrated move when you actually step back and look at it. At first, you have to wonder, because the Blue Jays are going from Matt Chapman to now Justin Turner. The biggest difference between the two, obviously, is defense. Matt Chapman, one of the best defenders in the league. Justin Turner, like I said, pushing 40, so his defense is not like it once used to be. And even when it was prime Justin Turner, his defense wasn't all that. Expected to play the corner positions and most likely be the DH for the Blue Jays. And like I said, he's a hitter. He is a pure hitter in the second half of his career, and he's still doing that. We talked about those numbers with Boston, and if they were with the Blue Jays last year, they'd be even better. He's going to a hitter-friendly park instead of playing that Fenway Wall monster there. Some of those singles that he had, because he's not fast enough to stretch them into doubles, they'd be home runs at the Rogers Center. So, this is one of those moves where it's kind of risky because, like you said, the age and everything else. But nothing in the last, 5 to 10 years of Justin Turner's career here speculates that he's slowing down, even though he's getting up there in age. Obviously, he played with Boston last year. He's played in the AL East now. He knows the Yankees. He knows Tampa. He's played these teams. So, unlike someone like Varsho last year who came over from the NL West, a division where you only really had to worry about the Dodgers and, maybe the Padres, Turner, came over from that, felt right into a very competitive division and played really well. So that's one thing that Blue Jays fans shouldn't be worried about. The only thing that I would be kind of concerned about is, like I said, the defense. If the Blue Jays have to play him out in third base, they can get away at first base. If Vlad needs a day off, you put him at DH maybe even, and have Justin Turner play first. You can get away with that. I wouldn't want to stick Justin Turner at third at all. Maybe a couple games here and there. Red Sox also used him as a second baseman as well a couple times last year. So, infielders where he's going to be. He won't be playing shortstop, tell you that much for sure. But I think the move, at first is a little bit of a what are we doing here kind of moment for the Blue Jays. But when you actually look at the numbers and actually look at the type of leadership that Turner presents as well, Bo Bichette, he was on record he was on an interview recently with, I think, Blue Jays Radio, and he was talking about how the leadership has always lacked. Blue Jays are full of talent, full of skill. They've got the guys, but they're missing that vocal leader. Outside of Springer, there really isn't anyone for some of these young kids to look up to and get that veteran presence from, and a guy who's done it in postseason Justin Turner is definitely that, being on all those great Dodger teams and, being underrated on those Dodger teams. When you think back, obviously you had great pitchers like Clayton Kershaw, great relief pitchers like Kenley Jansen. But I mean, Corey Seager was there. Cody Bellinger, his MVP years were there. Like, Turner's always been kind of underlooked, but always had those great moments with the Dodgers in postseason. He knows what it's like to get ready for those games. I think he's going to be a great addition to the Blue Jays team for those reasons and those reasons alone. Alrighty, continuing on now, let's take a look at a couple of veteran position players that have signed. And let's start with Adam Frazier as he heads to Kansas City on a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. Kansas City just keeps getting better and better by the day. I mean, you look at this offseason they've had: Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Hunter Renfroe, Garrett Hampson, trading for Kyle Wright. Now adding Adam Frazier in the mix. Kansas City could be sneaky good, because Adam Frazier is sneaky good. If I would define Adam Frazier, it is sneaky good. He's had, a very consistently, hit or miss career. But when you actually look at his numbers, they all kind of spark in the right way. That kind of sounds stupid saying it out loud. In 2021, he was an all-star with Pittsburgh and then got traded to San Diego. 2022 signed a 1-year deal with the Mariners, and then 2023 signed that 1-year deal with the Baltimore O's. He plays every day. 2021 he had 155 games, 2022 156, last year 141. Numbers aren't always great. OPS is 696, 612, and then 779 the last 3 years. 99 hits, 129 hits. Looking last year at Baltimore specifically, 99 hits, 13 home runs, 60 RBIs, 240 batting average. He's not going to kill you on a day-to-day basis, but let me tell you, his bat is sneaky. It pokes out there. He finds hits, in the worst ways possible. If there's one guy that you don't want coming up in like the ninth inning to lead off a game or to lead off the inning, it's this guy, because he'll just poke it in, like he is a little pest, I would say, to some teams. Like I said, the numbers that I said, it equaled up to a 1.7 WAR, which, I mean, for Adam Frazier and for a guy of this caliber, it's still very strong. This guy can hurt you in more than one ways, and kind of getting up there into his veteran years. Debuted with Pittsburgh in 2016. Ever since leaving Pittsburgh, though, he's been kind of a pest from the Padres, Mariners, Baltimore. Like I said, this guy finds hits. I think he's going to be sneaky good on this Royals team. I think the Royals are starting to look sneaky good. I can't wait to do a deep dive on them before the season starts. But Adam Frazier, like the move a lot for Kansas City, especially am loving their off season. Moving on now, let's take a look at Aaron Hicks as he's going to the Los Angeles Angels on a 1-year deal. The Angels are paying only $740,000 on his contract because the Yankees are still owing a good amount on his contract, I believe. Hicks, I mean, he's a guy, I don't know if these could be... Whoa, that's not even English. I don't know what I was going to say. I don't know if he's supposed to be replacing Shohei Ohtani, but it's not going to happen. Let me tell you something about that. Once a great player with the Twins, traded to the Yankees where he was great for 2 seasons, signed a huge extension, and then became not great. Yankees last year released him in the midway of the season, and he found a home with Baltimore and played really well and brought him to a postseason where he had a couple of nice at-bats there. His time at beginning of the season with the Yankees was batting 188 with an OPS of 524. When he came over to Baltimore, he was batting 275 with an OPS of 806, had 7 home runs, 31 RBIs with Baltimore as well. So let's see if Hicks can continue to right his wrongs over the last couple of years with the Yankees, or if he's going to be kind of just an average hitter there in LA. Switch hitter, outfielder. His defense has definitely declined over the years very fast, so how much DH time will he get? It'll be interesting. The Angels now have a DH spot that isn't for Shohei Ohtani, so who's going to get to play there is going to be the question. And Aaron Hicks could be one of those guys, could be out there in center. But, it's an interesting move. I'm not going to say I hate it, but it really is one of those moves to kind of just talk about briefly because of Aaron Hicks. He is a kind of a household name, but there isn't much to add on or much to say. And speaking of that, we got one more to quickly chat about. And that is Travis Jankowski. He is re-signing back with the World Series champs, the Rangers. $1.7 million deal there. Jankowski, you forget how long he's been in the league. He's been around since 2015 with the Padres. He's bounced from a couple teams now, including the Phillies, the Reds, the Mets, and the Mariners, as well as said Rangers. Like I said, he is a 2023 World Series champion. Last year, played 107 games. A lot of that was doing some pinch runnings and some speed threats. Had 1 home run, 30 ribbies. He had a small week or two, I feel like, where he was just kind of getting hit for hit and doing really well. Had a couple nice games with the Rangers. He was batting .263 with a .689 OPS. And for that backup outfielder role that he was playing, that's pretty good. And for 1.7, the Rangers are happy to bring him back and, keep that speed, keep that defense. And, like to move for Texas, hold on to some of that 2023 World Series magic and hope it kind of finds them back next year as well. So a couple of moves there from a couple of different teams. All right, now let's continue with this trend of talking about 3 players at a time and talk about some relief pitchers that are signed this week. And let's start with the most interesting one, Wandy Peralta, New York Yankee. He is now signing with the San Diego Padres for a 4-year deal worth $16.5 million. I found this one very interesting. Wandy Peralta, last couple of years with the Yankees, very good. Going back to 2021, really a 2.95 ERA. 2022, 2.72. Last year, 2.83. A good, consistent left-handed pitcher, for New York in the last couple of years. So I find it really nice for him to kind of find a nice deal here. This is the type of money that you don't really expect relief pitchers to get unless it's top-end closing pitchers type thing. But for a relief pitcher last year to accumulate 1.4 WAR, 4-2 record, and 54 innings, 51 strikeouts, it's not bad. Not bad at all. And obviously the Padres lost out on Hader this offseason, so they lose a big left-handed there. So Wandy Peralta, don't expect him to be doing closing. I expect this guy more in the 6th inning, 7th inning type speed. Maybe if he's doing really well, the 8th inning, and if he does extremely well, then maybe he is going to be closing out some games for the Padres. He's definitely picked up a fair share of saves with the Yankees, 11 to be exact, in his, huge career there for him. They played 165 games with the Yankees in those 3 seasons to a 2.82 ERA with 11 saves. So I like the move for the Padres, and I kind of have underrated Wandy Peralta over the years. I guess he's been a little bit better than I've given him credit for because numbers are actually very impressive. People need to talk about Wandy Peralta a bit more here. Looking back at it, yeah, he's put up a couple of nice years with New York, so good for him. Get that bag, and good luck in San Diego. Padres, great move, great pickup. Moving on, Adam Ottavino is re-signing with the Mets. Known for his very funky delivery, he's going back to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal there. This will be now his 3rd season with the Mets. Last year had a couple of hiccups here and there in late in games. He was 1-7 in his win-loss record, but he had a 3.21 ERA, which isn't bad. 61 innings, 62 strikeouts, so pretty much a strikeout an inning. Picked up a couple of saves for the Mets as well with the lack of Edwin Diaz there. Obviously, Ottavino played for a couple of teams by now. Started his career with the Cardinals for a little bit. He's played in the last couple of years with both New York teams as well as Boston, but Ottavino definitely picked up his name and most of his success when he was with Colorado, going back from 2012 all the way up to 2018. He's been around. He's done the game for a little bit now. He's going to be entering his 14th season in his age 38 season. So good for Ottavino. We always love to see this guy pitch, and he'll give up some home runs here and there and give up some runs, but overall he's still a pretty consistent pitcher. The Mets should be happy to have him back. I do like this guy a lot, so there you go, Otto. And then another last relief pitcher signing here, Hector Neris, going from the Astros. He's signing a one-year deal worth $9 million with the Cubs. 2022 World Series champ, spent his entire career with Philly before coming over, signing a deal with Houston last year in 2022. 2 years ago. And then also stayed with Houston again in 2023. It's going to be his 11th season in his career and his third team. Like I said, most of it being with Philly, excluding the last 2 seasons. Last year with Houston, he was good. How good? In 71 games, a 1.71 ERA. That's 69 innings of work, 77 strikeouts. I mean, this is a guy for Houston sometimes where, you're up in the lead, 2-run lead, send him out in the 8th inning, he'll hold it. Ryan Presley came in and shut it down. Neris is good. No way about it. Last year was a great year for Hector Neris. He earns this money with the Cubs. It'll be interesting to see how they use him. Could he be closing out games? 100%. Is it likely? I don't know. I don't really know the Cubs' bullpen situation, who they got back there. They might have a name that I'm just blanking on, not thinking about. But Hector Neris is going to be good for that bullpen. Definitely will take more of a leadership role there for some of those young guys in that bullpen. So like the move a lot for the Cubs. Overall, all 3 of these signings, very good for the teams. And hopefully they all pan out for all the parties involved, players and teams. All right, now we've got one last signing to look over. And the team making the signing, your Oakland A's. This could be one of the last signings the Oakland Athletics make in their history. Obviously not the last signing, but he'll be one of the last ones, and it's going to be Alex Wood, starting pitcher, coming over from San Francisco. And, this guy's been in the league for a long time. I didn't think he was this young. He's going to be 33 next year. Excuse me. Debuted all the way back in 2013 with the Braves when he was 22. He's played on a couple teams now. His 11th year in the big leagues wasn't a great one. A 4.33 ERA with the Giants. Definitely dealt with some injuries as well. He played 29 games for the Giants where he only started 12 of them. Pitched 97 innings. 74 strikeouts, so nothing too great, but expect him to be in the Oakland rotation. Expect him to do something there. You never know. Kind of Alex Wood, lefty, kind of a weird, funky throw. Was with the Dodgers in 2020 when they won the World Series. He is a World Series champion. Most of his time, career-wise, has been with the Dodgers. Had a year with Cincinnati as well. But the last 3 seasons have been with the Giants. His best one being in 2021, where he was 10-4 with a 3.86 ERA. It's funny how that 2021 Giants team had really good pitching for one specific year and never again. That 2021 Giants team needs to be studied more, because that was a weird year for baseball and for San Francisco. But Alex Wood finds himself kind of, I guess maybe the face of the franchise for Oakland, possibly. Who knows who they have there for now. But, good for Oakland for doing something. It's their first signing, really. Not their first move, though. They did make a trade at one point getting Abraham Toro. So, not the first move, but the first signing, so good for Oakland. They're spending some money. We don't actually know what the deal is. That stuff is still not public, which I find interesting. We don't know how many years. I'd expect 1 or 2. For the money, I have no idea. The way Alex Wood pays, I'd pay him like 3 to 6 mil. The way Oakland is, maybe 2 mil. I have no idea what this contract's going to look like, but once it becomes public, we will definitely talk about it. But good for Oakland to do something, and good for Alex Wood, kind of being the face of the Oakland A's next year. So there you go. All right, now just because we've done all the signings doesn't mean we're done talking baseball. We've got a couple things to look over. Starting off, Corey Seager. The Texas Rangers announced that he had surgery, sports hernia surgery to be exact. Apparently he got injured at some point during the postseason and only did the surgery now recently. The Rangers are saying they hope he will be ready for opening day. But Seager right now is sidelined, will mostly miss a good chunk of spring training while he recovers. And then some other news here. Baltimore. Baltimore. This is a franchise right now. It's a changing of the guard. A lot of moves happening in Baltimore, even on the front office side of things. It was announced that John Angelos agreed to sell the team to a group for over $1.7 billion, which is absolutely absurd. The Angelos family took over in 1993, bought the team for $173 million, and now has just sold it for $1.7 billion. Is a crazy investment over the years. I don't really have much to say about it. This kind of front office stuff, it's very interesting, but I don't really have too much information to go into it. I don't really talk about this stuff, but the Baltimore Orioles are a good team coming off a 101 win season. They have young stars, Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, even younger in the AAA still. Jackson Holliday's in there. So Baltimore right now looks good. Worth $1.7 billion is crazy. The real winner here is the Angelos family. Huge amounts of money there. So congrats to those guys. All right, now we got to talk about something here as we close off the episode. We've got a couple last things here. MLB Network. I've got a problem with the MLB Network right now, specifically with the Shredder, and if you know what that is, then you know what I'm talking about here. MLB, every year, they do a list of top 10 players right now at every position. They do this every year. For the last couple of years now, they have this thing called the Shredder. It takes up all of the players from each position, shreds it down into the top 10. Fine. You know what? When you look at it, sometimes they're very good. The third baseman, they just wrapped it up. Let me explain why I'm talking about this now. They just finished with the relief pitchers today, or last night. And, they do every position, everything, right? Here are a couple of my problems with it, just to get a baseline out there. One thing that I keep seeing, everyone's upset that Yordan Alvarez is the number one left fielder. They don't have a DH, which is, it is what it is. I find it funny that the best player in baseball is Shohei Ohtani, and he's not on any one of these lists, because whether he's not a top 10 starting pitcher or he's just, DH, but they don't have the DH, fine, whatever. The reason I have problems with this list, because it's called MLB Network's top 10 players right now. And that alone makes it a skewed list, because how do you define right now? What couple of months or years do they look at? Because that's my biggest issue with this list. And specifically to talk about the relief pitchers, because that's the one that I feel like they screwed up the most. Edwin Diaz, last year he was ranked first because he had such an amazing year. This year he didn't play at all. Like at all. So why is he sixth? He should either be somewhere still first or second, or he should be off the list because it's right now. If you're judging this list off the last, 2 months, 3 months, then fine. But how is he moving down 5 slots? And the 5 guys that are above him, they had good years, yes, but they didn't have a crazy year like Edwin Diaz had. Devin Williams being ranked first, fine. That's a respectable opinion that you can have. My biggest issue is where is Josh Hader on this list? Josh Hader, nowhere to be seen. Devin Williams ranked first, Ryan Housley, Pete Fairbanks, really? Evan Phillips, Johan Duran, Brian Abreu, David Bednar, Chris Martin, Jose Alvarado, of course, Edwin Diaz mixed in there as well. Awful list. Not to say that some of these guys aren't deserving. David Bednar, 100% deserving. Jose Alvarado, you can make a case for. Brian Abreu, where's the Astros closer, Ryan Presley? Where's the new Astros closer, Josh Hader? I pulled up Pete Fairbanks' numbers last year with the Rays. In 49 games, a 2.58 ERA in 45 innings. You know what that means? That means he dealt with injury. Josh Hader, on the other hand, with the Padres, 61 games, 56 innings, so more than Pete Fairbanks already. ERA, 1.28. Had 85 strikeouts to Fairbanks' 68. You can go and compare numbers all you want. Hader's better. So when I look at this list, and I don't see Josh Hader, but I see Pete Fairbanks third, how? How is that the case? And it's not just the relief pitchers, might I add you. You can go and pick up and look around. Center fielders, Mike Trout is third. And then, Michael Harris, the second, is fifth. And and Mookie Betts, I have issues with as well. I know the Dodgers have already said it, Roberts already said it, that Mookie Betts is playing second already. I don't know why he's already at the first of all these categories. Mookie Betts is ranked first for second baseman. Like technically no issue there because he will be playing second base apparently this year. But he should still be ranked as right fielder because it's top 10 players right now. Mookie Betts hasn't played at second base yet. So how is he right now the best second baseman? I disagree. And you can go through each one of these lists and find issues and arguments because they're all messed up. Because if you're going right now, you're going off of the last month, the last 2 months of the season. So guys who haven't played, like Edwin Diaz, like Mike Trout, they shouldn't be on these lists. That's my big issues with this. And like some of these lists, they're accurate. There's some guys who deserve to be here. You look at the third baseman, a lot of people are unhappy that Austin Riley was first over Jose Ramirez. It's a coin flip, really. Both are really great. But you go down those lists, Nolan Arenado, 7th. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit not debatable. Justin Turner, who we talked about earlier, signed with the Blue Jays. He's ranked 10th. Matt Chapman, who is arguably the better third baseman overall, isn't even ranked. There is this list. I never like these lists because I think it's so bad. MLB, for as many great things that they do, like MLB Network, I mean, the amount of great segments, it's a fun show to watch. I love watching it. All the segments, all the different things that they do. The Shredder and MLB Network's top 10 players right now at every position. These two things, hand in hand, my least favorite things. I hate it. I don't like it. They suck. They're really bad. It is poor list after poor list. Like I said, there are some, sometimes they get it right. Rarely do they get it right. Rarely do they get it right. Because, I'm looking through these lists right now and just, upset after upset after upset. It makes no sense. How is Cal Raleigh ranked 9th? behind guys like Yanyer Diaz, who wasn't even the primary catcher for the Astros. Wilson Contreras, yeah, he turned the season around a little bit last year, but is he still supposed to be ranked higher? I don't think so. Will Smith, Sean Murphy, yeah, that's a coin flip. Fine. Where is Jonah Heim, World Series champion catcher, not even in the top 10? I mean, I could find problem after problem with these lists. They are pathetic. They're bad. There are players who should be in the top 10 specifically, and the reason I brought this up for the last couple of minutes and why I went on this rant, Josh Hader should be on that list. And he could replace anyone. Pete Fairbanks, Brian Abreu, Chris Martin, Jose Alvarado, all guys could be replaced, and definitely more. Ryan Presley is better than Brian Abreu. How is Presley not on that list? So many issues. Don't like it. That's the end of that. Yeah, no, it's poor. It's so bad. All right, moving on from that. We got one last thing, and I wish that I could say it would change the tone here, but it really isn't, because this is another thing that's been on my nerve this week. A couple of days ago, San Diego Studios, the company that makes MLB The Show, baseball video game, they released their cover athlete. And everybody and their mothers were thinking it was going to be Ronald Acuna Jr., maybe Julio. It turned out to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and people were freaking out. And I have no idea why. This is it's something that shouldn't be talked about in such a way that, people get upset over. It's a picture. And if you looked at the cover is nice. It's probably one of my favorite covers, since Bryce Harper, maybe. Maybe Javi Baez had a good cover too. Like, the cover is very nice. The colors pop. It's a really nice cover. People are freaking out because they are calling Vlad undeserving of the cover, pointing at his stat line, comparing it to Ronald Acuna Jr. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. Why are you doing that? No, that's not the reason MLB chose Vladdy. Vladdy is a very marketable guy. And that's not to say Acuna isn't. And I as well, before seeing the cover athlete reveal, thought it was going to be Ronald Acuna. But Vladdy is not a bad choice, and it's a very smart choice from San Diego. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plays on the Blue Jays, which means all of Canada watches this guy, all of Canada likes this guy, so you have all of the Canadian market. The whole thing, the whole way they revealed it was like the journey through the DR, the Dominican Republic, where Vlad born, how he grew up playing it, and all this stuff. That's the whole market right there. If you play baseball, if you like baseball, if you play MLB The Show and blah, 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 and all that, it doesn't matter who they put on the cover. You're buying the game. They already have you. They have you hooked. You're going to spend the money for the game. That's how it works. What they're trying to do is get people who don't like the game or don't really play the game to get the game. And by choosing Vlad, you're getting two, not brand new markets, because obviously there's people in Canada, people in the DR and everything, but you're getting people who wouldn't maybe naturally pick up the game to play it. You're getting them to actually hesitate, maybe actually let's buy it because Vlad's on the cover. That's how it works. Vlad is a good guy. He's not an awful ball player. He's not on the level of Acuna, but the people who are freaking out, comparing Vlad's numbers to Acuna's numbers and Julio's numbers, you're just making yourself look ridiculous. Like, it's not that big of a deal. If you like baseball, they could put, Chris Bryant on the cover. They can put, name any player. They could put Kenley Jansen on the cover. Like, why would they do that? It doesn't matter. You're going to buy the game anyways. Because who cares? It's a cover. It looks nice. Just be happy the game's going to come out soon. That's something that you shouldn't be getting upset about. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't like Vlad, don't play with him in the game. It's not like you have to if there is somebody out there, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you're generally not going to buy the game now because Vlad's on the cover and not the guy you wanted or not Acuna, you're ridiculous. And I hope you don't buy the game because you are not a baseball fan. That is pathetic on your part. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I think Vlad is a great choice for the cover. MLB The Show 24 makes a lot of sense. Good for San Diego. The way they revealed it was all nice and done. His story was beautiful. And that's not to hate on Acuna, because I love Acuna, but it's just the people who are fighting on Facebook, X, Instagram, whatever social platform you want to use, those people are ridiculous. And that's all I want to say on that. Congrats to Vlad. It's a great honor for him, and the cover looks great, and that matters. All right, we did it. We're done. A little bit of a heated last 15 minutes here, but we are done today's episode. Coming up on an hour here. Wow, good for me here. Again, in some of the longer episodes the last couple of weeks here. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. If you stick this far to the end, hopefully you didn't take too offense to either of those two things I was talking about. Just things to get off the chest here. I appreciate you all. If you're new here and you like what you hear, feel free to subscribe, follow the podcast. Helps me out a ton. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much. And I will see you guys next time.